Geeks on a Plane is a group of startup enthusiasts. It's investors, technologists, anybody who's interested in the community, out visiting everybody in the region and just learning what's going on in Southeast Asia and what's happening in the startup scene. The one that is the most interesting in terms of likeliness to succeed is probably Catmoji, which it's a very simple concept. It's people posting pictures of their cats. That there's a unexplainable but magical relationship between cats and the internet, and given just how much people seem to love their cats and posting them and talking about them, they seem like they're in a good place to succeed. This was the first time pitching for a lot of the people, and everybody made a really nice, valiant try. It's really hard to get up in front of a crowd of people and pitch something, especially if you haven't done it a lot. So it is an art, and it takes a lot of practice and skill. So finding good mentors who can help them refine the pitch and just going over it again and again and really finding the best way to craft their message and deliver their story will serve them well. Hi, I'm Andy. I'm here on Geeks on a Plane. I normally work in Singapore for Google, and I've joined this group of technology enthusiasts to tour the region and see what's happening with the startup scene.
Geeks that get on a plane, but it's not their plane, it's a commercial airline. Well, no. Geeks on a Plane, I think, is a fantastic opportunity for people to learn about startups in various different locations that they are venturing into, like Southeast Asia. So it's great that we have people from the West come down to Southeast Asia and understand the pains and troubles that we go through in terms of being a startup. And what I loved about the exchange between local Asians learning from the other geeks is their whole thing about it's okay to fail, and failure is everywhere. So when we see conversations between the foreigners saying that, yeah, I've had a startup and I've failed, and we've got dumbass ideas in other countries too, it gives locals hope that, it's pretty much the same everywhere we go. And in fact, if you're in Malaysia, you're pretty much more lucky with the amount of funds that we have access to and how easy it is just to get funding in this country. They have a +1 for themselves here in the country itself. Yeah, I definitely will say it's still the whole soft skills, like I mentioned before in a couple of articles that we interviewed on. Pitching skills. When you start up a company, we always want to make sure there's always that 3 roles. So we always try and make sure you have the hacker, the hustler, and the designer. Most of the times you always have the hackers and the designers if you're lucky. We find it's more hacker-based these days. And the hustlers are never there, so it's very hard for them to say after 3 months, let's go get your first customer, or even trying to get there before you get the customer to pitch this to investors. You don't have someone that's so fluent enough that can just talk about the product. So right now we're trying to just focus on letting people know what you're doing, what the benefits of your particular product, and your team's technically sound. So it doesn't come off the cuff that they are with that flair of a presentation itself, but it's something we got to work on in terms of Asia. So we'll work with what we've got. My name is Mike. I run the Lead Accelerator program here in Malaysia, rather in Cyberjaya, beautiful Silicon Valley of Malaysia itself. My vision for the whole future is to just continue what we're doing and take it one step further itself. I think we're already doing that with all the stuff that we're basically putting out there, getting mixed parties so that hackers meet hustlers, meet designers. So some of the teams you would have seen that we funded actually came about from a hackathon. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to have more streamlined hackathons itself. We just spoke with people like Group M that run brands like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo itself. We're going to get hackathons in future to come with a client brief saying, this is a product you're going to build for Pepsi, this is a product you're going to build for Coca-Cola. We're going to find ways to get hackathons to become more curated. We're going to tell people what the industry is looking for, what investors want, and start getting Malaysians to build towards that. Because what we find is Malaysians are fantastic outsourcing now. We've got mad technical skills, but we don't have that business acumen itself. So that's something we got to coach them and groom them and get them towards that direction. And we hope in the next couple of years, we'll find more successful companies through this particular activities we've been doing. That's lead.
Geeks on a Plane is a group of folks who get together and travel to different tech centers around the world, usually about 20 or 30 people, collection of founders, geeks, investors, and other people who are just geeky. And we meet other founders, other geeks, other investors, and learn more about their businesses, about the markets we're visiting, and occasionally speak at a few events and have some good times. I sure hope so, because I'm not sexy. Let's see, I think probably the cat emoji pitch was the one that I thought stood out the most for me. So that was kind of a unique story about cat pictures on the internet. About a site dedicated to folks who are into that. I think there's definitely some room for improvement, maybe a little bit rough around the edges there, and but you know, you can teach people to work on better pitching skills, so that's probably fixable. Well, I think there's probably a lot of opportunity for growth, and seems like a lot of folks here are very creative and talented, so looking forward to doing some more investments maybe in the future. This is Dave McClure, founding partner and chief troublemaker at 500 Startups, and we look forward to seeing amazing Malaysian startups in just a few more months.
Geeks on a Plane is technology and travel, but really it's a bunch of geeks going to different areas of the world to discover what's going on in the startup communities and all over the world outside of the U.S. so we can learn from them and hopefully let them learn from us. Cat emoji stood out the most because it's very unique and kind of zany, but at the same time, you know, some of the craziest ideas are oftentimes the most successful. So, and everybody knows that that's actually a legitimate and widespread interest on the internet. So it's interesting to see people trying to make businesses out of really crazy stuff like that.
10 teams.
I think that they need more practice, honestly. You know, I think that it's, in order to garner interest from investors especially, you really have to have a very polished pitch, and it seemed like that they knew their ideas, they knew what they wanted to say, but they probably just needed a little more practice and refinement. And you know, I think they were well on their way to that. It's just a matter of really, really spending tons and tons of time practicing over and over and making sure that every step of the pitch is perfect.
What is the best time? Is it 3 minutes, 5 minutes?
Well, it depends what kind of environment you're in. I think you have to have down several different versions of your pitch. You need to be able to say what you do in 30 seconds. You need to be able to say it in 1 to 2 minutes, but then sometimes in more demo day environments like that, you know, a 5 to 8 minute pitch is certainly reasonable. So my name is Tim Falls. I am from Boulder, Colorado, and I work for a company called SendGrid. And I had no idea what the Southeast Asian startup community was all about before coming here, and I've only been here a few days, but I'm already really excited to see where it's going. It just seems like it's, especially here in Malaysia, that it's kind of on the precipice of exploding into something really awesome and exciting for the whole world.
I guess I define Geeks on a Plane as a bunch of geeks from the Valley, kind of traveling around the world, spreading a philosophy that comes out of Silicon Valley about how to build a startup, how to build a company, and at the same time mixing with new cultures, learning along the way, and even maybe potentially building a partnership distribution deal where there could be a company in the Valley that wants to spread to Asia, and hopefully a deal could get struck up here.
And out of the 10 pitches you see today, what stand out for you?
One of the pitches that stood out, I'm blanking on the name, but the reason why it stood out, he basically started and asked, like, how many people here are familiar with QR codes, and everybody raised their hand. And then he said, like, how many people use them, and nobody raised their hand. And he was like, yeah, exactly. And he basically had a card system that would work with iPhone and mobile apps that kind of got rid of the boring QR code and did something a little different. I still think there's some work and some direction needed there, but I did like that he kind of recognized that something that's all over the place, we're not all using, and there needs to be an improvement there. About their pitching skills, being open, I think that there's some work to be done there, but that's okay. Like around this region, a lot of people are actually going at it for the very, very first time. Pitching is very, very important because basically when you're talking to an investor, you only have their attention for a brief amount of time. So you want to make sure that you're able to convey a very clear message that speaks in terms that they understand. And so I would definitely suggest that trying your pitch out on lots of different people you don't know, not your family, not your friends, they give you terrible feedback, but actually like meeting somebody in a crowd, doing a very short pitch, and seeing how they react to it. If it's positive and they ask more questions, that's good. If they start like trying to poke holes in it, you might need to refine your pitch a little bit. So I'm looking for startups to invest in, which for us is a partnership, startups to work with. What I really, really like are the basics: e-commerce, payments, anything that's allowing somebody to order something online, get it delivered, pay for it online. We definitely expand into other things. There's a online dating service we've invested in Thailand, but we like the traditional basic stuff, not the newest version of a copy of Pinterest or Vine or something that is hot and sexy in the Valley, but not necessarily the pain point that's here locally in the region. Okay, my name's Vinny Loria. I'm founding partner of Golden Gate Ventures. We're an early stage seed firm here in Southeast Asia. We bring talent and money from the Valley, and we invest it locally.